Anachukua ujanja, anasema fanya jinga. Si tumeambiwa wajinga tufanye mambo mawili. La kwanza, Mwalimu Nyerere alisema baina ya mjinga na mpumbavu. La pili, there was a time, mainly young people can hear me. Young people, there was a time, if you call yourself president in Kenya, you'll be detained without trial. So next, I'm going to call Sheikh Ibrahim Lithome here. He had given apologies. If he's not here, can I call Ibrahim Yongo? Ibrahim, are you here? Yes, tafadhali. Alafu baada yake atakuja Dr. Devji Atela, KPMDU, Dr. Wesonga Uwasu, Bwana Manyara, and then dada yetu Ruth Mumbi. So as you come, brother, now let's be very precise.
Shukran. Nachukua fursa hii kushukuru kila mmoja wetu ambaye amefika hapa. Kwa majina naitwa Ibrahim Yongo. Mimi ni kiongozi mashinani, chairman wa Mtindo Welfare Association, ikiwa ni sehemu ya kufanya biashara kule Makadara constituency. Yangu ni machache na ni observation ambayo nimekuwa nikifuatilia nikijaribu kuangalia jinsi tunavyoendelea na hizi harakati zetu. Na tunafahamu vizuri mambo ilivyoenda mpaka pale tumefika. Tunatafuta way forward. Lakini katika hii way forward pia tukiangalia kwa makini, sisi tunapigana tukijua target ni nini. Na tunatafuta mbinu, ima mbinu iko na tunajua viongozi wetu wanajua end game ni nini. Kwa hivyo wengine wetu viongozi mashinani, tunafuata viongozi wetu tukijua kwa kwamba wanatuelekeza katika mstari iliyo sawa. Lakini sisi mashinani pia tukiwa kule tunaangalia zile ambazo zinaendelea katika nyanja za juu, lazima tufanye observation na tuangalie na tukosoe upungufu ile tuko nayo na tuzirekebishe. Sehemu ambao kuna upungufu na sisi tutoe maoni ni vipi zitaimarishwa. La kwanza, toka tumalize uchaguzi, tunajua koti ilivyotufanyia ubakaji na tukakubali. Lakini nafasi ilipopeanwa kwa wale viongozi ambao sasa wako mamlakani kuendesha nchi, ni dhahiri kuwa kwamba hii shughuli hawakujiandaa vizuri. Na mpaka leo kwa kweli ukiangalia mazungumzo ya viongozi inaonyesha kuwa kwamba hawakujiandaa, ama ujuzi na mbinu ujanja kuendesha taifa hamna. Kwa hivyo nafasi ipo bado ya kurekebisha mambo. Lakini je, sisi kama option ambayo itakuwa ni fallback ya mwananchi, uongozi wetu kidogo upungufu iko wapi na itarekebishwa vipi? Mimi kwa mtazamo wangu nikijaribu kuangalia jinsi tunavyopigana vita kule hewani, hapa namaanisha kupitia vyombo vya habari, magazetini, redioni na hata kwenye televisheni. Kwa kweli kikosi chetu ina upungufu ya watu wa kurusha marasharasha. Kwa mfano, kwa kipindi cha siku 2-3 makamu wa rais amekuwa akitushambulia sana na anashambulia viongozi wetu wakuu. Imefika kiwango cha makamu wa rais anauliza taifa ama anaeleza taifa, yeye anazungumza kama makamu wa rais ambaye ilichaguliwa, lakini hana muda ya kuzungumza na Raila Odinga. Mpaka anatuuliza Raila Odinga ni nani, yeye anazungumza kama nani? Tumefika hapo. Je, ukijaribu kuangalia tajriba ya makamu wa rais na mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, His Excellency, hapo kuna comparison kweli? Hakuna nafasi kama hiyo. Je, kwa nini chukue kipindi cha wiki mzima? Mheshimiwa rais amekosewa heshima hapo. Sisi wanarasharasha wetu, nikisema wanarasharasha wetu namaanisha foot soldiers wetu wa kumachi Gachagua wako wapi? Viongozi wetu wako wapi wa kubishana na Gachagua? Kwa sababu kiwango cha Matakarua na mheshimiwa Raila Odinga si kiwango cha Gachagua. Na wakati mzee ataenda kurespond kwa Gachagua, inamaanisha tumeshusha hadhi ya mzee. So tunauliza na mimi siko hapa kukosea watu heshima, isipokuwa kwa observation yangu ni kuwa our communication sector ama communication system iko na upungufu. Na inatakiwa, ikiwa leo Gachagua ama Ichung'wah atasimama aongee, na aongee ujinga na upuzi alivyoongea, jua lisitue kabla tujapata mtu wa kumjibu moja kwa moja. Hii ni observation ya kwanza. Kwa hivyo nikimalizia nukta hilo, ningetaka kuomba communication team ya Azimio, tafadhalini marisheni kikosi chenu. Na mimi nachukua fursa hii mama na kuuliza moja kwa moja, ningeomba nafasi katika hiyo sekta. Mimi niwepo, matches tuko na the best team, lakini there's always a chance for improvement. Na tusidharauliane hapa, mzuri sione kama amekosewa heshima, isipokuwa kuna nafasi na kuna haja ya kuimarisha hicho kikosi, ndio kusudi. Tukirishiwa kombora ni sisi tunarusha kombora. Tusirishiwe kombora inafika wiki mzima kama hiyo agenda ambayo tulirushiwa na ni uongo mtufu, sisi hatuja respond, inakuwa ni ukweli. Na sisi tunajua vizuri. Tunajua vizuri wale mabwana ni wazuri sana kwa kuweka propaganda. La mwisho, nilisema nitakuwa kwa mfupi kwa kusema, tafadhali, tunajua vizuri vuguvugu ambayo inaendelea kwa saizi, ama harakati ambayo inaendelea kwa saizi, tunajua inaweza fika kiwango ya kuwa kwamba utarudi uchaguzi ama sisi tupewe serikali. Lakini ndio tufikie hapo. Je, tutakuwa tumemwandaa mwananchi kwa njia gani? Mwananchi ataandaliwa kwa njia gani? Kwa sababu kumbuka, wenye tunapinzana nao ni watu wajanja sana na ni wakora sana kwa propaganda na maandalizi ya mashinani. Tunavyozungumza saizi, chama cha Kenya kwisha tayari wako na mikakati kupitia hii kofa zao ambao wanaita ni hustler funds. Nimekwambia mimi ni kiongozi mashinani, na kwenye sehemu mimi naongoza leo, kuna watu wao, maagents wao wanakuja kutoka sehemu yangu ya soko, na wanakuja na ajenda moja. Kunayo mbinu ambayo imeshazinduliwa upya ambayo inakuja kuhamasisha watu mashinani kwa kwamba kuna fedha katika hiyo coffers ya hustler fund, lakini sasa ina target vikundi ambazo ziko tayari, ziko registered. Na tunajua vizuri vile vikundi ziko registered mashinani ama mtaani, ziko kwa wingi sana. Sasa lengo lao ni kwenda kumarisha zile vikundi, zinapewa nafasi na zinaelezewa kila kikundi ifanye recruitment ya watu ejapo 50. Kisha kuna mapeni ambao watapewa moja kwa moja, wanaform kama sako hivi. Kisha wanapewa pesa pale ya wao kukopeshana wao kwa wao. Tayari hii ni mbinu janja ya kuingia na kukita mashinani, ambapo saa zile filimbi kitapulizwa tu hivi kwamba labda kuna uchaguzi na kuja, tayari wao watakuwa kuna maagents wao ambao kidogo ama kwa njia moja au nyingine wameimarishwa kikamilifu kurushiwa macheche.
Asante sana Ibrahim. Lakini nawaomba mtu akipewa fursa aitumie vizuri na kwa ufupi, lakini asante sana ndugu Ibrahim kwa mawazo yako. Dr. Atela, Dr. Wesonga. As Dr. Wesonga is coming, ndugu Manyara awe tayari, au Makajos. Alafu Rusi Mungu.
Thank you very much. His Excellency Raila Muludinga, His Excellency President, my name is Constantine Wasonga, and I'm the Secretary General of University Academic Staff Union. From the academy, we are supporting social justice. And we have one motto, that education liberates. We don't support injustice. So whenever you find a movement that fights for social justice, know that Wasonga is there. We have been given the data here. I don't want to agree with the data. I don't want to dispute the data, because you know I represent all the landed people here. Analysis of data falls under the domain of my members. I'm going to subject this data, interrogate it, then we'll give our position. So that I give a position from an informed position. And you know, once we get that this thing is right, we give our position whether you like it or not. Since independence, It is the first time that the government cannot pay its workers. And people think that it is a normal exercise. We are being told to tighten our belts. I want to say that as University Academic Staff Union, we shall not tighten our belts because we pay taxes and we are not going to beg to be paid. We are going to demand to be paid. So whoever is thinking that they can tell academic staff to tighten their belts, we are not there. Today is 13th. Our members worked. And we don't know whether we are going to be paid or not. You know, initially, the middle class thought that the cost of living was just high for the poor. Now they have gone to the middle class. So it is upon the middle class to stand up and speak, because we are heading in the wrong direction. Whoever imagined that a government can say that they cannot pay their workers, a government is telling workers to tighten their belts, and unionists are not talking? Don't count me there, I'm not there. I am with the people. And once we will stand with the people, and we will not tighten our belts. A government that cannot pay our workers has no business being on the throne. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. He was speaking on behalf of all the academics and those who profess at the university. I would like to call now either Manyara or Makajos, and then Ruth Mumbi, either Canon Karanja or his representative Suba Churchill, and we finish with Kenneth Osido.
Comrades power! Comrades power! Comrades power! Comrades Ria! Comrades Ria! Your Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga, Martha Karua, Kalonzo Musyoka, viongozi wote wa Azimio. Mimi naitwa Anthony Manyara, the President Kenya University Students Organization, also doubling as the President of East African Students Union. Mimi nimekuja hapa leo kuwakilisha wanafunzi wote wa all the universities in this country. Now, before I even make a few comments, let me recognize the student leaders with us here today, starting with my able deputy, Rachel Tabitha. Where are you? You just wave from wherever you are. If you're an elected student leader, tafadhali just wave from wherever you are. As you can see, Your Excellency, tuko na viongozi wote wa conference hapa. Mimi nitaongea mambo machache sana. First of all, let me begin by saying that this government is to blame for very many problems that students are facing today. Jambo la kwanza ukiangalia mambo ya HELB. Last week but one, we had Kabianga University demonstrating. We had very many universities that have demonstrated sababu ya mambo ya HELB. Mimi baba nataka kukuomba sahi, ututengea hata kama ni Friday tuendelee na maandamano yetu as university students, mpaka tuhakikishe ya kwamba hiyo pesa imeachiliwa. We are not begging for our salaries. We are not begging for help. Help is a right for every student. I would like to summarize this by saying that you cannot pickpocket a naked man. Reason as to why we are saying this is because wanafunzi pale chuo kikuu wanakaanga panya, wanawinda ndege. These are students who are sleeping hungry. The government doesn't understand that wanafunzi wanainama. We are coming to a situation whereby students are killing themselves, students are committing suicide, sababu hakuna chakula pale shule. Number two, I'd like to tell this government that you have come with very many unsustainable policies. One of them is CBC. CBC is completely unsustainable. Why come up with a program that you cannot be able to sustain it? Number 3, Baba, we have the movement for the defense of democracy. Students have been in opposition since 1963. Saa hii tunataka kuomba hiyo bipartisan talks ambayo inafanyika, let youth leaders be part and parcel. Hata fadhali subcommittee itengenezwe kidogo hapo chini, so that young people can feel part and parcel of that process. Nikimalizia Baba, nataka kusema ya kwamba movement for the defense of democracy, kuna wale watu walikuwa wameanza kutent jina wakisema ati hawa watu sijui wamevaa berets, sijui wamevaa jeshi. Hawa ni vijana ambao wako at the forefront of fighting for the rights of many Kenyans who are the oppressed, who are the hoi polloi, who are the people down there. Hao ndio real hustlers. Hao watu ambao wanapiganiwa na hao vijana, they are the real hustlers. Na mimi ningetaka kusema Baba, we thank you so much because you're the only person who has been withstanding injustice for a very long time. Ukiona university students are on your side, it is because we are fighting for the right thing. Sisi tunataka kusimama kwa haki na ukweli. Mimi mwenyewe nikiwa Manyara, nilisema ya kwamba hakuna wakati nitapeleka wanafunzi wa vyuo vikuu kwa njia ambayo haifai. Sisi tumekandamizwa for a very long time. Since history, since time immemorial, this is the very first time that the government is neglecting university students. Wanafunzi hapa shule, they cannot survive. Jana nimeongea na CEO wa HELB, anaitwa Ringera. Ananiambia tafadhali ongea na CS Treasury. Nikijaribu kuongea na yeye ashiki simu. Kuatilia pesa 5.7 billion peke yake, is it a problem really to the government? Is it a problem? Ukiangalia the expenditure which is being used by State House, they're using billions on very extravagant issues. Wanaenda wananunua magari kubwa. Hiyo pesa inafaa kuachiliwa iende ipea hao wanafunzi waweze kuendelea na masomo yao. Finally, wacha nimalizie nikisema ya kwamba this government does not understand dialogue. This government does not understand dialogue, Baba. Sisi tunataka kuomba tu turudishwe pale kwa street tena. Tafadhali declare, Baba, declare. Kama venye my brother Gaucho amesema hapo, we are very ready. Mimi I mobilize my troops. Gaucho mobilize bunge lake. Watu wengi hapa, tuko na hata Wandai hapa mobilize pale wa bunge. Sisi wote tupatane place moja. We do a real march to State House. Ama namna gani? Nikimalizia Baba, wacha nikushukuru sana sababu umesimama na wanafunzi for a very long time. We are very loyal. Tumesema ya kwamba njia tuko na wewe mpaka mwisho. Kama ni dialogue, hiyo side nyingine yetu ya dialogue, sisi tutasimama na wewe. Tumerealize ya kwamba wabunge wao wanasema wamepeana people who look like jokers kwa hiyo party yao ya bipartisan. We are telling Dr. Ruto, tafadhali review your team. Let us serious faces. Hata kusema ati tuende tukaongee na Kimani Gichungwa. Who is Kimani Gichungwa? We are supposed to reject those bipartisan talks until they bring serious faces on that team. Thank you so much.
Asante sana brother.
Namshukuru sana kiongozi wetu wa wanafunzi wa vyuo vikuu. Wale wanaokuja kuzungumza sasa ndio tunamalizia, ndio tuje kwenye plenary. Just hold on. Mimi I learned a great lesson when I went to Karachuonyo. Kule unasema Mogik, alafu unaendelea. Alafu unasema Mogik kabisa, alafu unaendelea. Alafu unasema Mogik kabisa. Sasa ukija hapa Mogik moja tu. Only one Mogik. Dada yetu Ruth. Dada Ruth Mumbi, Human Rights Defenders Network.
Viva na Kenya, viva na Kenya, viva na Kenya, viva na Kenya, oh viva, viva, viva na Kenya, viva na baba, viva na baba, viva na baba, oh viva, viva, viva na baba. Kwa majina mmesikia mimi ni Ruth Mombi, mwanaharakati mtetezi wa haki za kibinadamu, na mimi hapa leo niko na jambo tu mbili la kusema. Nilikuwa katika harakati ya kupigania na make sure ya kwamba katiba ambayo sisi wa Kenya tulijipatia imepigiwa kura na tumeipitisha. Nili coordinate warembo ni yes, and I'm glad that Mother Karua is here today, because we went round kuambia wanawake na wasichana ya kwamba hii katiba ni yetu na lazima tujipatie. So mimi hapa nataka kuongea kuhusu Article 1 of the Constitution. Nikumbushe the current regime ya kwamba hii si privilege wanatupatia, and right to protest can never be a privilege of the state. Ni haki yetu kulingana na katiba yetu ya Kenya, Article 1 of the Constitution, ambayo inasema we can exercise our power as people either directly or indirectly. And we are here today as the Kenyan people to exercise that power directly. Na hatutaomba ruhusa, na hatuombi ruhusa, na hii serikali ambayo inajiita sijui serikali ya hasla. Nilifikiria wale wangeongea mbele yangu, and especially the religious leader, hii message inaenda kwenyu. Katika Biblia inatukumbusha ya kwamba wana Israeli walizunguka the walls of Jericho siku 7. Muliona tear gas? Hawakupigwa na tear gas. Na kama nyinyi mnajidai ya kwamba nyinyi ni serikali teule na Mwenyezi Mungu, mbona mnatuchapa na tear gas? So sisi kama Wakristo wa Kenya, wanadini, we are going to protest, we are going to exercise our power, and it is not a privilege that you people, and especially Ali Iba bin Kura, hatuombi wewe ruhusa. Tumeona vile muliiba kura. Baba alikuita Zakayo, lakini mimi leo nakuita Ali Iba bin ushuru. Ushuru hatulipi, sababu ya nini? Kama tunalipa ushuru na mnaendelea kuchukua hiyo ushuru yetu kujinunulia magari mkiwa na huo maumau bonoko, sisi kama maumau, the real hustler, the mother of the nation, we are going to take back that power na tuseme ya kwamba enough is enough. So Baba, we are here with you as the grassroots, as the women. Now, dialogues zinapoendelea nationally, we as the grassroots women, we as activists, we as young women of Kenya, tutakuwa tukiziendeleza kule mashinani. Mkiongea hapa juu, na sisi tunaongea hapa chini. Mnachukua sauti yetu, mnasema wananchi wa Kenya wamesema hivi. So, because if we don't reclaim back this country, it's going to the dogs. And it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate watu ambao hawabelieve in the rule of law ndio wanatuongoza. Baba, tunakuuliza tafadhali tupatie list ya friends wetu wale international na maadui zetu. Kwa sababu katika kazi yangu ya wanaharakati tumesimama sana na Venezuela. We have showed solidarity with the Venezuelan people. But wakati Karmago alituibia ushindi wetu, it's really unfortunate that even the Venezuela government haijaiongea jambo. So sisi tutakuwa tunaofa solidarity kwa wale wanatupatia solidarity. So kwa hayo machache na mengi nasema ni asanti, na lazima tushikane mkono na tupatiane nguvu ya kureclaim na kuexpand the shrinking space ambayo inaendelea kushrink katika hii nchi yetu ya Kenya. Nikirudia hapo kwa nini kwa right to protest, ni aibu kubwa sana. Wakati ya maandamano tuliona Kibera, mtoto aliuawa na polisi na tear gas. Tukaona Kisumu, kijana student Maseno University alipigwa risasi. Juzi kumekuwa na maandamano Darakanidi. The illegitimate government imeona ni muhimu kutoa statement kuhusu Darakanidi. But I'm here to remind them, every life matters. And you're not going to tell us when to protest, how to protest, and where to protest. It's enshrined in our constitution, and we will exercise that to the fullest. Viva Kenya, viva!
Asante sana Dada Mumbi. We had confirmation from NCCK that they'll send a representative. Is there any representative of NCCK here? If you are here, please come forward. But let me call Brother Suba Churchill to come and share some thoughts. And then Kevin Osido, and we'll close that and we'll come to the floor very briefly. Baba, thank you so much, and the leadership for keenly listening and taking notes. Just a little while longer, and then we'll finish this session.
Thank you very much. I'm Suba Churchill. I'm an activist, and I've been an activist for the last 28 years, and still counting. And if there is anyone who others would wish to retire, maybe in the sector is Suba Churchill, but I refuse to retire. The Right Honorable Raila Odinga, Your Excellencies, present and former governors present, and other dignitaries, it is my pleasure to speak on behalf of a sector that I've served for a number of years, and to show solidarity with some of the sentiments that have been expressed here. I've had the privilege to be part of the team that worked on the Constitution of Kenya, sitting as delegate number 463 at the Bomas Constitutional Conference in 2003 and 2004, and not only sat as a delegate, but co-chaired the Technical Committee on Citizenship and the Bill of Rights. And so my submissions here today are going to be based on the provisions of the Constitution. One of the provisions of our Constitution, under Article 38(2), is that every citizen has a right to free, fair, and regular elections based on universal suffrage. And that is provided under the Bill of Rights. Article 35 of the same Constitution tells us that every person has a right to access information held by the state, and more so when that information is required to protect a right or fundamental freedom. What am I trying to say? That those who have made it look as if asking for the opening of the server is like extracting somebody's tooth without the benefit of anesthetics should know that accessing information held by the server is a fundamental right protected under Article 35 of the Constitution. And so, irrespective of how the Supreme Court ruled, Article 35 of the Constitution remains operational, and any Kenyan at any point in time has a right to demand access to information held by the state of its agencies, including the IBC, to certify themselves that indeed their right to free and fair elections as provided for under Article 38 was protected, and that the results that the IBC announced were as they ought to be. I know there are friends who have told us that the 2022 elections were the freest, the fairest. But as one who has observed elections for the African Union in 28 African countries so far, I will tell you that there cannot be free and fair elections if the vote before it is cast is different from the vote after it is cast. The figures that we have been treated to here indicate that the votes before they were cast multiplied for some candidates after they were cast. And therefore, the results as announced by the IBC on the presidential vote do not meet the requirements of Article 86 of the Constitution that requires that no matter what method is used in conducting the vote, they must be verifiable, they must be accurate, and all this seems to be missing in this process. Every time this discussion crops up with my colleagues in the sector, I ask them one simple question. Kwamba juzi tuliona watu wakienda kwa shamba la mwingine wakaiba kondoo. Ikiwa huyo mtu ambaye alibiwa kondoo anashuku watu fulani na aseme juzi nimepoteza kondoo kadhaa, mamia ya kondoo, na nashuku kwamba kuna moja iko kwa hii nyumba, the solution is simple. Open the door, let the owners of the kondoo certify themselves that indeed you are not holding any of the lost. That is the stand of the civil society. That there can be no reconciliation without justice. And there can be no justice without truth. That truth can only be ascertained not by my friend Wasonga going to subject this data, but by the holders of the information, making that information available, because we'll end up confusing the masses. Because your lecturers will come up with their own figures, other people will also come with their own. Let those who are holding the information make it available pursuant to Article 35 of the Constitution. That is the stand of the civil society. We have been told in Article 88 of the Constitution that the IBC is one of the constitutional commissions. As one who participated in writing this Constitution, I've looked at the provisions relating to the functions of the IBC. And I think, and I want to suggest, that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is too important a commission to be established just like all the other constitutional commissions. As an election observer, I know for a fact that there are three types of commissions. Ours falls under the constitutional commissions. Then there is the mixed model and the government model. It is my submission that what is in contention in this matter is not the panel. It is the formula being used to establish the commission. And I want to urge us to admit that our country and our state of democratic development is still too backward to let the president and incumbent president run the show by presiding over the appointment of everybody else who contributes people into the panel that sets up the commission. I want to remind us that in 2002, the only reason we had free and fair and credible elections that met the frameworks as set out in Article 86 is when we had different actors, critical stakeholders, saying this will be our representative in the commission. So what we are calling for as a civil society is a review of the method of setting up the IBC. And we are saying that whatever is in this constitution is not cast on stone. That it is not about the panel, it is about relooking at Article 88 of the Constitution and saying this formula is wrong. And Dr. Wasonga will agree with me that as our mathematics teachers used to say, when you get the formula wrong, the answer can never be right. We will never get it right until we get the formula of establishing, not reconstituting, establishing the commission. Because the commission is the one that registers citizens as voters. It's the one that delimits boundaries of constituencies and wards. It's the one that updates the voters' roll. It's the one that oversees the resolution of disputes of nominations. It's the same one that presides over referenda and elections. We are saying this commission must be treated differently. And we have examples in that same constitution. The manner in which, for example, the Revenue Allocation Commission is established, where there is consultation, where people, stakeholders have representatives, is perhaps some of the formula we need to borrow and bring into the establishment of the IEBC. Lastly, as a representative of the sector, I would be failing in my responsibility if I don't raise this. Way back in 2013, a new law was passed, the Public Benefit Organizations Act, that was supposed to repeal the NGO Coordination Act and establish an enabling environment for the civil society to thrive and make their contribution in a socio-economic development. That law that was passed by Parliament in 2012, assented to by former President Mwai Kibaki on 13 February 2013, is yet to become operational because successive regimes have refused to operationalize it. We are seeing on the other side people who called us names, said we are evil society. I'm not surprised that day in, day out, they celebrate the contributions made by Kenyans in the diaspora, but never mention the significant contribution that this sector makes to the economy, creating jobs and ensuring that those who are underprivileged, those who are underserved, get some of the services that government cannot provide. Lastly, I agree with those who are saying that hata kama kuna majadiliano inaendelea kwa kikao fulani, moto pia lazima iwe inawaka nje. That's how it works. That's how it works. Without pressure. And some of the things they don't admit, you know, when people are complaining about salary, what they are not admitting is that 2 weeks of mass action cost them the money they would have used to pay. They'll not tell you that. But these are the realities. We need to cost them another 2 weeks so that those civil servants can join us in the demonstrations. This is how revolutions happen. Revolutions don't happen when everybody is paid on time. We like it. We like it. Some of us in the activist side of the world like it when everybody is not comfortable. So, Baba, another 2 rounds of Mandamano. And all civil servants who are not yet paid will join you in the struggle for change. One thing people who are close to you may not tell you, and which people say outside, is that you don't seem to have the ruthlessness that is required in this struggle. That, you know, my grandfather was a well-known partaker of traditional brew, busa. But he would not entertain a fly around his calabash. You are still entertaining people who have defected, people who have crossed over, people who have betrayed the struggle. By now, there should have been a by-election ongoing in Kisumu for the Senate. By now, we should be having a by-election in Langata. People are saying you don't have the ruthlessness. This struggle requires some level of ruthlessness. And it is not that there is no shortage of people who can lead in those constituencies. Bondo constituencies are sure bets. What are we waiting with that? Baba, you need some level of ruthlessness in this struggle. Because if people are aiming to kill you, why not kill them first? That is what the struggle is about. I'm glad to see my colleagues, Kenya University Students Organization. I want to tell you, I'm the founder chairman of the Kenya University Students Organization. And when we were founding it in 1995, some of us were expelled. Then we became clever. We say, if you are thrown out through the door, find a way of coming back through the window. So when we went to the Register of Societies, they said, you in particular, we know you are notorious, you have been expelled, you are not a student. We went and registered in a driving school and came back and said, now you see, we are students in a driving school. Those are some of the creativity that we need. Asanteni sana.
Vijana munataka nani? Baba. Na wazee munataka nani? Baba. Hadi wa mama munataka nani?
Baba. Sisi ni wa baba. I hope my brother Suba will not mind me sharing the following. I want to share with Baba two things about Suba as he greets him. So Brother Suba introduced himself as an activist. But at the end, he also indicated that he was a founder, student leader of the university. But even more importantly, he is now the national coordinator of civil society reference group. He was out of town when he heard this session was on. By his own pressure and the pressure of those he represents, he traveled overnight to be here today. So, Kevin, please, you're the second last person, so let's make it precise. And I have reserved the last chance in this session, the last chance, to those men and women who are in the front line represented by MDD. Yes.
I'll be taking you on. Been holding on for so long. I've been waiting. Time for the real time.
Kwanza kabisa ningependa kutambua wale viongozi wa rende la Azimio ambao wako hapa, viongozi wetu ambao pia ni viongozi wa vyama vya kisiasa. Ninaona hapa wamejaa, wamefurika furifuri. Viongozi wetu ambao wamechaguliwa kutoka katika bunge zetu za juu na pia za gatuzi. Namuona spika wetu wa Nairobi, Bwana Ngondi, pia ako hapa. Viongozi wa sekta mbalimbali, wa Kenya wenzangu, mabibi na mabwana, hamujambo? Bwana Yesu Kristo asifiwe. Salamu alaikum. So I want to begin by really appreciating the organizers of this session who considered it wise and very thoughtful to have conversations from Kenyans around the ongoings in their country. When we received this phone call that came to us yesterday evening, we were very glad because this really is an exercise of Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya that gives sovereign power to the people. In addition to that, we have very many legislative proposals that support public participation. So we have come here in very big and huge numbers to participate. And if a similar call comes from Kenya Kwanza, we will as well attend and make our voice to count. I am speaking on behalf of an organization called County Governance Watch, whose sole purpose is to watch over devolved governments of Kenya, really by presenting proposals and recommendations that strengthen and enhance devolution in the counties. In addition to this, we engage a lot in issues around leadership and governance. And so elections, peace and security really form the core of the work that we do. And so in the Middle-East, we have organizations that are from, let me say, across the country, because beyond County Governance Watch, we engage with a network called the Peace Actors Forum that is represented by Madam Leah Kimathi. I think she's seated somewhere there. and also stakeholders from Mathare, Kibra, and other informal settlements that we engage with. They have sent me here with a 4-page document that I am not going to read, but I want to summarize it in brief. The first issue is, of course, taking note of the fact that our elections are necessarily standing as a trigger for violence, crisis, and dilemma. And this is happening because, as a country, we have failed to really look at the far greater challenges that the country is facing. And so if you look at very many platforms that have been presented to us, very many conversations that have taken place in this country, there are lots of unfinished businesses. And that is why, even as we stand in this very non-partisan platform, we want to appreciate Baba. Because I keep telling people that if Baba told us that kulikuwa na mamluki pahali, na kuna watu walikataa, na akasema nimewaona wameingia na mlango huu, na msipowazuia na kuwaziba watatoka na mlango hii ingine. After a few weeks, what happened? The faces of the Mamlukis tulionyeshwa, waliangazwa. If Baba says that there is an issue with this server, if Baba says that there is an issue with this server, si basi tutaweka server pia wawe mamluki. Na baadaye kutakuwa na sehemu na pahali ambapo ukweli wa huo server utajulikana. And so we take note of processes such as the Kenya National Dialogue and Reconciliation processes of 2008 that raised issues. 4 among those issues: constitutional and legal institutional reforms, land reforms, tackling poverty and inequality, tackling unemployment, especially among young people, and of course cross-cutting issues such as consolidating national cohesion and unity while addressing transparency, accountability, and impunity. As a network and an agency, we are convinced that the political process that we currently have, especially bordering on largely the reasons why we are here, focus on humiliating competitors, critics, and those who do not agree with the views, rather than building consensus and strategies for solving our country's issues. So we take note of progressive processes that have taken place to try and deal with some of those concerns, but we are also convinced that the people, the economy, eradication of suffering and promoting dignity are not a preserve of politics and therefore of governments. Progressive voices have to be given their place at those particular tables. And that is why, beyond the Agenda 4 issues, the 3 concerns that I have raised are concerns that are bedeviling Kenyans today. Consequently, and despite being detailed in past review processes, including the Kenya and NEPAD APRM process reports, the Justice Waki and Krigler commissions, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission reports, the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission TJRC report that of course led to the 2007-2008 Kenya National Dialogue and Reconciliation process, the Vision 2030 document itself, and much more closely, we take note of progress and regress that were made in the 2017 Joint Parliamentary Select Committee. And one agenda that not so many of us have talked about here today is the Building Bridges to Unity process that was quashed by our courts. These, ladies and gentlemen, are opportunities that give us the privilege, therefore, to make progressive steps that give us platforms to be able to exercise progressive aspects that therefore address the conflicts and the challenges that Kenyans are facing. The second broad conceptual challenge that we submit to Azimio today is the increasing feeling of hopelessness among the citizenry due to being disempowered and indeed the lack of organizing, lack of an objective and consistent voices among the citizen groups. Must it be the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga who will stand between the injustices that Kenyans are facing and the progressive steps that Kenyans require from their governments? The answer is no. And therefore we are hoping that in all these additional processes that are being undertaken, including the latest, which is the bipartisan process, that this degree of helplessness that Kenyans are facing is going to be addressed, and that it is neither the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga and his fellow leaders and the government, but that Kenyans will begin to have the conscious thinking and understanding that we have a responsibility that has been given to us by our constitution to exercise certain sovereignty. Therefore, in finishing, what are our 6 proposals to Azimio and to the bipartisan committee? Number 1, we are proposing that we need to restructure the executive to dignify and institutionalize the opposition to perform its oversight role effectively within a presidential system. Now, this memorandum explains the pros and cons of a presidential system, the benefits that Kenya has been able to accrue between the presidential and even the parliamentary system that we enjoyed its stint a few years ago. The Constitution of Kenya, therefore, provides that elections, as Suba Churchill rightfully said, will be held every 5 years. But it also establishes an electoral management body, otherwise called the IEBC, Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. The mandate and the functions of that commission is to conduct free, fair, transparent, and accountable elections for Kenyans. In exercise of that mandate, Kenyans vote for 6 positions that, of course, interest different contestants. Going by past electoral experiences, we have been told that winning the presidency means getting everything and losing everything if you lose and fail to become the president. This is happening both at the national level, regional levels, county levels, but even at an individual level. When you run for president, like the 4 candidates who ran for office and did not lose it, where do we take you to? What does that mean for us as a people? And therefore we are proposing that we need to begin to have a conversation as candid as is possible to review this structure that therefore will be able to open up certain spaces for us to be able to look at how we can be able to strengthen accountability, transparency, and indeed integrity of various agencies. The second issue that we are raising, devolution. So strengthening devolution, institutional performance, and governance. We have seen, and as a network, we have undertaken an analysis of the promises that were made by both Azimio la Umoja and also Kenya Kwanza on devolution and the benefits that would be that would accrue to Kenyans with this. We are sorry to say that Kenya Kwanza government has failed to live by the dreams of Kenyans and the prospects that have been given to us through the Constitution of Kenya insofar as devolution is concerned. And therefore we are proposing that, 1, funds that have been contained by the national government that are supposed to go to county governments be released, and that the bipartisan process that has been proposed begins to have a candid conversation around how we can be able to forestall the challenges that come with the division of revenue allocation. This goes beyond just Parliament, but also looking at the various constitutional commissions and also the functions as are detailed in Schedule 4 Schedule 4 of our Constitution of Kenya that basically narrates the functions of both national and county governments. Why are we saying this? We say this because we have also noted a trend at which the national government, particularly the Kenya Kwanza government, is stifling devolution, not just because of judiciary mechanisms and concerns, but indeed even regaining and reclaiming functions that are supposed to be done by county governments, and they are currently being both financed and executed and implemented by national government. If we fail to do this, ladies and gentlemen, therefore what will happen? For the first time, as one of my former speakers has said, we are noticing a trend where public servants have not been paid. County governments, various service delivery sectors have actually threatened to go on strike. Are we saying that it is the demonstrations that are going to get us back to the drawing and talking table? The answer is both yes and no. Why? Because we have to exert pressure. So there are people who will exert that pressure. And we also have to have conversations that are progressive and transformational. As I head towards finishing, the third issue is bringing a closure to the 2017 and 2022 general elections and making elections credible, accountable, and acceptable. We are here because we have been given data. What does this data mean to you? And I want to echo the words of Suva Churchill because they are also indicated in this memorandum. Article 35 of the Constitution gives any citizen of the Republic of Kenya the right of access to information held by the state. If we fail to exercise that right and not waiting for Baba Mheshimiwa Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, we want to see as many petitions to institutions of government pushing for opening up of the servers. It doesn't have to be Raila Amolo Odinga. As an individual, you can do a petition. As a network of family members, you can do a petition. And so beyond this meeting, I am requesting us to go out there and seek for petitions, letters, and questions that will ensure that if the server has the answer to what ails Kenya today, let the servers be opened. We have been told that there is no mechanism. There is a mechanism in Article 35. But if we fail to exercise that right, what will we be doing? Let's go back to the voter turnout of 2022 elections. More than 10 million plus people did not vote. Young people, particularly 8.4 million, didn't turn up to vote. If we fail to strengthen reasons as to why Kenyans go to an election, 2027 might not even attract a 34% voter turnout. Why? Because Kenyans will ask the question, what does my vote mean? And so we are also asking that question. What does waking up early in the morning mean to us? What does it mean to our government in office? Let us exercise our sovereign power, ladies and gentlemen, to push for implementation of Article 35 and Article 38 of the Constitution that gives power to people for universal suffrage on elections. Because failure to exercise that power, the young people of the generation that are following up to Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga will not wake up to go and vote. That means that there may be no elections in 2027. Lastly, cost of living. How many of us have 100 shillings in our pockets? Kenyans are crying. We want food. And it is the responsibility of any government that calls itself a caring government to provide mechanisms, stable environments, and opportunities for people of all cadre, whether elders, young people, persons with disability, the youth, women, children, to find food to eat. Children want to go to school. We are asking the government to exercise its power to make cost of living affordable, achievable for the majority of Kenyans. I thank you so much for listening to me on behalf of the people who sent me here. God bless you, God bless Kenya, and God bless Azimio. Asanteni.
Thank you very much, Kevin. I was not rushing him, but because Kevin has a written memorandum, I'm sure we'll be happy to receive the memorandum and process it, but continue to engage with you and your national network. Now, we have come to the end. Is there a representative of MDD here? Oh, he's here. We were waiting. We said we are going to give you the last loud intervention at this stage because you are on the front line of Mapambano. Karibu.
Freedom, my people, freedom. Freedom, my people, freedom. You know, my name's Eliud Opan. And as Malcolm X says, by every means necessary. I operate closely with MDD, but I'm the chairman of the Ordinary People's Movement. And I had to take this chance, and for sure you cannot now stop me. During the French Revolution, one Jean said, when the poor will be left with nothing more to eat, they will come for the rich. As the ordinary, we've come this close, I can assure you. And I want to tell you, with Baba being our general, as the ordinary citizens, this is what the ordinary people are saying. We took note when you were told negotiations were commencing. Baba, that very week, Dr. Ruto called you my brother. The second week, his deputy, without chills, called you ordinary. Baba, if you're not going to let us go to the streets as you continue with the negotiations, what will they do the third week? I can tell you, Baba, the ordinary people want to be in the streets because that is the only platform we have a chance to enjoy our rights. And I want to remind everybody, and this is biblical, in Galatians 6:9, for those of us who are in struggle and at times get weary, Galatians 6:9 reminds you, don't be weary of doing good, for in the right time and in due time, if you don't give up, you will assuredly get the reward. God bless you very much, and may God take care of you and part of you as we go through our struggle. Thank you.
Thank you sana. Sasa, to finish that, we need to appreciate them with that manyunyu kidogo, eh? So quickly, manyunyu. Moshi. Manyunyu yamekuwa mvua. Mvua hiyo inaongezeka. Nyingi sana. Radi! Asanteni sana. Now, with your kind permission, we are going to request His Excellency Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka to make a few comments and a few observations, because he's going to represent the leadership in a commitment that one of them has to go and attend to. So, Your Excellency.
This is not an occasion today for the Buffalo Soldier. We came to listen to our brothers and sisters from the civil society. Kwa hivyo naomba niwasalimie. Hamjambo. Civil society hoye. Azimio hoye. Asanteni. I do not have to make an apology, because it doesn't matter at what stage one may speak. But I know that the keynote reflections will be made by our brother Raila Odinga, and I know our sister mother may want to actually farm it on provisions of Article 35 of our Constitution, the right to information. And I know that as Kenyans, we are concerned about the state, not only of the economy, but the state of the nation of Kenya today. I made a remark over the weekend to which Dr. Ruto replied quickly. When I said I've been in government for quite a time, can't remember when, any time, I cannot remember at any given time when the Kenya government was unable to pay its workers. And government is the largest employer. At the time when we had the Grand Coalition government, and Raila will remember, and Mother, we as an economy would raise 97% of our budget. In fact, this is the one country that has not relied heavily on borrowings from either IMF or whatever, Bretton Woods, to be able to finance our recurrent expenditure. Therefore, when at the level of the head of state, somebody at that level begins to argue that you cannot borrow in order to finance the recurrent expenditure, this is seriously misleading the country. I want therefore to suggest, and allow me to continue with the journey after this, that Sunday in Kamukunji we will be going back to the People's Baraza. Here they are a little afraid as to why we would want to go back to Kamukunji. We have to report progress. I repeat that those who have read a book by the title A Man for All Seasons, you remember, I think Suba, you may have read it. The main character, one of the characters, is the Attorney General of the United Kingdom, that is Sir Thomas More. And he said that in the thickest of the law, he was a forester. I have this sense, because I've been in negotiations in the region, and of course in our own country, that Kenya Kwanza, let me be respectful to them today, are not serious about this dialogue. They clearly are not. And I think out of this consultative forum, the resolutions that will come out, need to call them out. Yeah, you can always know when somebody is serious. How do you prefix dialogue with the denial in the first place? Denial that this is it, we are not on it, and we can only discuss IEBC reconstitution. That's what makes me think they are not serious about dialogue. I agree with Gaucho. Gaucho said, the ghetto president, he said, these people, if they don't want, there's no dialogue they want. And I want to give him a negotiating principle. Dugu Gaucho, are you in the house? The ghetto president is right there. You find this applicable to Kenya Kwanza. If you cannot dazzle them, dazzling, you can't dazzle them with brilliance, then baffle them with bullshit. These guys may think they're bullshitting us, but I think we'll give them the bullshit. I'm sorry to use that four-letter word. It comes to a time must come when you must call a spade a spade. Either they are serious about this, or they are not. But even if they are not, they need to recognize Kenyans have equal rights, and that you cannot sit on my rights and pretend you are doing me a favor. Therefore, the right to demonstrate, I think Mama Mumbi did it very well on Article 1. We've been quoting Article 37 clearly. I saw Kithure Kindiki making attempt in Parliament, which is actually even constitutional, because either you go back to the provisions of BBI, which made it possible for ministers. We were suggesting the ministers can come from outside and from Parliament, some of them members of Parliament, in order to deal with question time on the floor of the House. Now they're trying to do it through the window. I think, Churchill, they must have learned their tricks on how to become a student. Go to a driving school. That's what they have done. Go to a driving school in order to get them on the floor of the House. But be that as it may, Kithure Kindiki says, the police did not have express orders to fire live bullets at demonstrations. Something tells me he's not an insider. Something is telling me Kithure Kindiki doesn't know. We want him then to tell the country, why is it that an attempt a deliberate attempt was made on the life of Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga when we did the demonstrations in Embakasi South. Deliberate. Where was a young man I mentored called Kithure Kindiki? So when he comes to Parliament and makes it look so good, he's sanitizing a regime that has already shown they are willing to spill blood, even of the leadership in this country. If it wasn't that Raila Odinga's vehicle was armored, we would be talking a different story. Therefore, from this forum, please join me in demanding a thorough investigation on that attempt on the life of Raila Odinga. Otherwise, it will be casual. We are talking about men and women who don't care about shedding blood. And if they had knocked out Raila Odinga, and the assumption is people will demonstrate for 1 week, for 2 weeks, and they will forget. I think now they know when it comes to demonstrations, Kenyans have a sense of resilience. I agree with others who have said that we should, as we negotiate, if we find there is no good faith, and we said that. I think in the statement that our brother Oparanya issued on our behalf, we have made it clear, if we see evidence of no good faith, as indeed is clearly demonstrable from their own actions and utterances at every level, then the Kenyans have a right to go back to the streets. But imagine taking out Raila Odinga. Would we be thinking about this country? And have we stopped to calculate at whatever level? You assassins, we address you and your financiers. Have you tried to calculate even whether it will be safe for you to call Kenya your homeland? Therefore, we must stand strong. We must stand strong. We cannot be cowed. We love this country beyond what these people can imagine. We have no other place to call home. Kwa hivyo nawashukuruni sana. Remember, Gaucho, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, then baffle them. Baffle them with bullshit. May God bless you and bless our country.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for those sobering thoughts. I would like us to negotiate. You know, we are saying we are saying that we are people who reason together. Many things have been said by our brothers and sisters who have come on this stage. This is a time when we are supposed to open plenary. Baba and the leadership team that is here have very patiently sat for the last 3 hours listening to us. So I would like to negotiate with you and say we go a maximum of half an hour and we divide that half an hour between us and the leadership, so that we give 10 minutes to someone who has a very burning issue. Please don't raise any matter that has already been raised. You have a very burning issue. Please address it, and then give Baba and the leadership team 20 minutes. So a maximum of 30 minutes. Is that acceptable? Is that acceptable? So just come. I'd already recognized you. Please don't use the mic yet. Just come. Switch it off, please. So you are number one, and we'd like to be very brief. The second person would be someone who represents youth and persons with disability. She's called Wanja Maina Hana. If you put up your hand, somebody will bring a mic to you. Please bring a mic. Please give them that mic. I'll give you mine. Yeah? So Hana, you'll be number 2. Mzee Nyandika, Can I see your hand? Yeah, so Mzee Nyandika is here as an elder. We haven't had the elders speak. So I'll take 3 more from the audience by a show of hands. 2 here and 1 up there. So 2 here. Yes, the lady. 1. I'm looking. Yes, elder. Up there, 1 person. Yes, sister. Come down. Okay? Could you, all of you, come here so you give a mic to each other and we take precisely 10 minutes? But they want Mzee to see them. You want Mzee to see you? Yeah, so we could either speak down there or up here. So number 1, brother, precise, very brief.
Your Excellency, Your Excellencies, Honorable Baba Raila Amolo Odinga, Mama Martha Wangari Karua, waheshimiwa, ndugu zangu, mabibi na mabwana, hamjambo? Jambo la kwanza, ningependa tu kuchukua fursa hii kueleza nyinyi wa Kenya vitu viwili peke yake. Ya kwanza, ningeomba mkumbuke mwaka wa 1990. There was a country called Romania. It had a president called Ceausescu and Mrs. Ceausescu. They were put on firing squad. You know why? Because of what is happening in Kenya today. So let us not take this country as a joke. We have children. We have grandchildren. We don't want to leave them on fire. Ladies and gentlemen, I am asking you, Baba, look at us. We are helpless. Tunakuja maandamano alafu tunakutana na watu wako na risasi. Hiyo sio maandamano. Turuhusiwe pia sisi tubebe zetu. Tukutane na wao ndio wajue sisi ni wanaume pia. We do not want jokes anymore in Kenya. Gentlemen, I will remind you about Rwanda, our country, our neighboring country here. A plane was shot down. It had Abariamana and Uliengiamana. They were from here, Nairobi, doing negotiation for peace. My friend, 1 million people died. Is that what you want to see in this republic? Alafu mtu anakuja kusema ati Raila anataka handshake. Raila anataka handshake ya nani? Tulimpatia kura na ameshinda. Tunataka handshake ya nani? Open the motherfucker. Safa! Ndio mtajua. Tumeshinda hii kura.
Asante sana.
Wanaosimia mjambo. Nitasema mambo machache ambayo hayajasemwa hapa. Nataka niwakumbushe wa Kenya. Hiyo ndio serikali imewahi kukusanya pesa kushinda serikali yoyote tumewahi kuwa naye since independence. Kodi ile inatolewa ni hali ya juu zaidi. Pesa hizo mahali zinaenda hatujui. Ya pili, ni vile wamepeana kazi. Mimi nashangaa hapa mbele, baba, unatupenda sana sisi kama Wakizii. Hakuna Mkizii hapa hata mmoja. Na kuna wengine walikuwa kwa kodi yako za yote. Hata wanakuamuza asubuhi kwa nyumba yako. I'm very bitter about that. We must go to the drawing board. Wengine wanasukuma, wengine ambao ni viongozi tunaona mbele. Mimi vile niko hivi. Nimeitwa mikutano mingi na Wakisii wale wanaenda kugonga kwa milango ya Ruto wafunguliwe wapewe pesa. Nimesema sitaenda. Na baba, wacha nikuambie. Sijui kama kuna serikali. Sijui, sielewi. Mimi sielewi. Makosa yale Ruto amefanya na serikali yake within this very short time. Sijui kama inaweza kurekebishwa namna gani. Distribution of jobs amempa watu ya njia ile namna ya kuponya pesa. Hata muangalie kabisa na hiyo ni wakumbuze. Kikuyu anapewa minister, PS ni mtu yake. Nao ndio watu wanaanza serikali. If it means incitement, let it be. Anapewa pande hii account ni mtu yake. Pesa inaingia na kuchomolewa, hatutavumilia tafadhali. Nashukuru. Sasa nataka nikupe kiongozi, baba, kutoka Kisii.
Kana hii kijana Ogeto nilimwona hapa. Hata kama kwa sababu tuna wabunge. Kana msichana yule ambaye ulinominate ambaye nominated MP. Irene Mayaka. Wabunge ambao wamechaguliwa na tiketi yako. Wacha kuwa na huruma sana. You are my friend. If there is a friend of yours, the true friend, ni mimi. Wacha nikuambia huruma wacha. Amwafoto Burangata. Utunyima mbunge ambaye tungechagua ukatupatia sarakasi. Core election there. Mimi ni mfuata Warangata. Sitaki kuongea mengi. Nafikiria nimekumbuza na yale machache ambayo nimekuwa naye ningeongea mengi. Lakini ngine nitakuuliza papo kidogo tu. Asante.
Asante mzee Nyandika. Nipeane mwelekeo kidogo tu. Kwanza walio sehemu. Asante mzee Nyandika. Utamsalimia unapoteremka chini. Tafadhali. Unaweza kupitia hapa umsalimie. Asante mzee Nyandika. Tumpigie mzee Nyandika makofi. Sisi ambao tuko upande huu tuko na nafasi pale juu. Yeyote anajiunga nasi aelekee juu. Na vijana ambao tunatembea tembea, hii ni awamu muhimu sana. Na mwisho hapa, kindly if you can, one issue, alafu unaketi. I think the lady perhaps, kindly. Asante. Endelea.
Thank you very much. All protocols observed. Nataka kusalimia baba tena. Wakati ambayo nilimsalimia mwisho tulikuwa Nakuru. The last time niliongea na baba tulikuwa University of Nairobi, an alumni, na baba alikuwa atupe 6,000. Na hiyo 6,000 ilikuwa ikuje the first week of the month. Kwa hivyo kama hawangetufanyia vipindi, saa hii ningekuwa na 4,000 imebaki kwa sababu alikuwa amesema 6. Alafu hiyo ingine tunapeleka weekend. Baba, I'm the national chairperson of people with disabilities in Jubilee. Kuna hii issue ya cost of living, na kwa sababu in your wisdom, I wish you tie it to the issue of social protection. Kwa sababu hiyo issue ya cost of living, it really affects people who are at the bottom of the pyramid. Na hiyo social protection, it delays, haikuji, inapelekwa funny, and if it can be added, we can solve this issue for once and for all, because we are as strong as our weakest link. Issue ya pili, nimeambiwa niongea moja lakini nitaongea mbili, ni hiyo issue ya IEBC. Hiyo issue ya IEBC iko na mambo mengi ndani yake, including vituko na vipindi ambayo IEBC wamekuwa wakifanyia people with disabilities ambao wanataka kukuwa nominated in county assemblies and in national assemblies. Issue 2 ndani ya IEBC ni voter apathy ya mavijana. And that is why sisi tumekuwa tuki-request baba, please make it to be all inclusive, because our issues are very many na hatuwezi miss chance ya kuongelelea hiyo maneno. Number 3 and lastly, tungependa kuambia baba is that people have been really requesting to join the maandamano. I was there. Ni vile tu niliona tear gas ilikuwa mingi, but we really want to go to the maandamano. So make the maandamano safe and then we shall come back. Thank you very much. I appreciate.
Thank you. May God bless you. Karibu mzee.
Okay. Asante sana. Your Excellency, Right Honorable Odinga, Mother Karua, Honorable Malwa. Kwa majina mimi naitwa Joseph Ngeno. I'm Azimio Chairman, Bomet County. I've come here to also show solidarity with the people of Kenya with this fight for social justice. And I'm just here because my issue is only one. Maybe I'm going to spare one issue. But the problems that the people of this country are going through are the same. People in Bomet, people in Mandera, Mombasa, Busia are experiencing the same problems. Kama hii shida ya mshahara, for example, I'm a retired civil servant, mimi sijalipwa, ingawa mimi natoka huko upande huko ambao watu wanaweza fikiria wanapata special treatment. So I'm saying that we have people in all parts of this country who are with you, Baba, and people in solidarity for this fight. We are also saying that with respect to the server, we know that if you said you won, the best thing would be open it so that everybody can see. Otherwise, I just want to give you salam kutoka Bomet. Asante sana, Mungu bariki.
Asante mzee. Karibu.
Thank you so much. My name is
Huntington Oguk, the Kuso Nyanza coordinator and the president emeritus, Meru University. Comrades power! Comrades vive! I'm here specifically for one thing, the issue on comrades. We know very well Baba is the fourth arm of government. And so being a government, it means you have everything. So I'm going to request Baba, because it is a government. Baba is a government. Baba, students in this country who are the next leaders in this country are really going through hard times. The specific one is students are being traumatized. We have institutions whereby students are being subjected into punishment, suspensions, and expulsion. But because you are a government, I'm requesting, let us have part of the judiciary that only listen to cases raised by the comrades. Comrades power! Just the same way we have the juvenile courts. Because right now, to a point that the other day you had students who are having the candle lighting, condoling with our fellows who were involved in accident. You find that as students being subjected to a suspension or to an expulsion just for doing such a thing. So many students have been sent home. Baba, let's have, may we have, I'm requesting, may we have part of the judiciary that only listen to the cases of the students. As you witnessed what happened in Mary University sometimes back, when the vice chancellor was being taken away, we stood firm and we ensured that he was reinstated. And we want to thank God for that. But some of us were almost being taken home for fighting for what is right. Now, how will we help Kenya if almost those students who have the right, who have the voice, are being taken home? So that was my request. Thank you so much.
Thank you, comrade. Mzee.
Hamjambo. Kwa majina mimi naitwa Wambogo na nataka kwanza kushukuru Baba kwa yale amefanyia hii nchi. Nakumbuka wakati mmoja 1989 nilikuwa nafanya kazi pahali kunaitwa Comcraft. Baba nikienda kazini alikuwa anatoka hapo kwa Ministry of Foreign Affairs asubuhi mapema, tukaweviana hivi haja kama hakuwa ananijua. Alafu jioni alikuwa naenda ofisi pale Ajip. Jioni wakati nilienda nyumbani kufungua KBC, nikasikia mtoto wa Jaramogi Odinga amewekwa kizini na imesainiwa na mtu alikuwa anaitwa Cabinet Justice Ole Tipes. Sasa tangu wakati huo mimi nimesimama na Baba na nimekuwa nikimfuatilia. Nimekuwa nikipigwa na watu nikiwaambia hata 2013 mimi natoka Udhaya na nataka kuambia wana youth haza nyinyi Kimathi wakati alienda msituni alikuwa in his 20 years na nyinyi sasa Baba anataka kumkabidhi hii nchi na tukimfuata kwa sababu hako na maono ya nchi na kuambia tutatoboa. Youth mujikakamue, tufuate Baba na najua ako na maono mazuri kwa nchi yetu. Na niko na furaha kwa kuona Wairia na ndugu yangu Kioni. Hawa wametoka from their comfort zone na sisi tumesema pia tutawafuata kwa sababu tumeona yale mambo inaendelea katika hii nchi ni ya kutenanisha. Umaskini ile iko hapa nchini na unaona watu hawajali. Yaani juzi niliambia mtu hii mambo ya sijui courage ni Kikuyu chauvinism in politics itaisha. Na itaisha kama tunafuata Baba wakiwa na mother. Kwa sababu nchi inaweza haribika. Tuko tayari katika hali mbaya kabisa. Lakini tukitoka Wairia na sasa nafurahi kwa sababu nilikuwa na shida uko wapi, lakini sasa umejitokeza na kwa hivyo sisi tuko kwa laini hiyo. Na wasihi nyinyi tafadhali tufuate Baba
na najua ako na maono mazuri kwa hii nchi.
Asante sana mzee.
Asante sana. People's power. People's power. Our people united shall never be defeated. Turundie hiyo, our people united shall never be defeated. My name is Florence Kanywa, a social justice activist. Baba ananijua kama Nyameru, maana mimi nimesimama na baba miaka yote na sitarundi nyuma. Baba, kile nataka kukuambia mchana wa leo, usilegeze kamba. Sababu nimeangalia kwa umbali, naona wale watu ile vitu wanafanya ni kipindire. Ile kitu wanafanya ni nini? Ni kipindire. Na mimi naambia baba asilegeze kamba. Wakienda kwa mazungumzo wasilete yale wao wanataka, na walete mambo yale tunataka kwa nchi yetu ya Kenya. Na kama vile comrades zangu wamesema hapa, akina Ngaucho, akina Ruth Mombi, ninasema hakuna haki itapatikana kama tumekaa tumejikunja hivi. Lazima njoto iwe inaendelea hapa nje. Viva comrades, viva!
Asante madam.
Viva comrades, viva! Baba, kabla niondoke hapa nataka kusema hivi. Nashukuru Mungu sana kwa kutupatia wewe kwa nchi yetu ya Kenya. Nashukuru Mungu sana kwa kulinda wewe miaka yote. Na nashukuru sana sababu wewe ulichukua jukumu la kutetea mwananchi wa kawaida kila wakati. Na nasema hivi, baba, ukiwa mbele yetu, ukisema right turn, sisi ni right turn. Ukisema about turn, ni about turn. Ukisema forward march, we'll forward march. Na tunasema Mungu akulinde, na hii mambo ya kutoa kiti ya uongozi wa rais kabila moja mwaka huu, hiyo ingine inarudi hapo. Hiyo kitu lazima tuikatae, hata kama ni kupitia kwa katiba, iwe sasa kiti inakuwa rotational. And I know Raila Amolo Odinga is an institution. Raila Amolo Odinga is a movement. Raila Amolo Odinga is people's driven leader, not an individual leader. Thank you so much. Long live Baba.
My dear, asante ndugu, karibu na niombe tufupishe. Asante.
Okay, ningetaka kuongea about jambo nimekuwa nikifuatilia mahoka in the city of Nairobi. Na sisi hoka tumepitia mambo mingi sana in the hands of the government. There's one Dinka who said, in Kenya's political language or parlance, a common citizen is a person who is as far removed as possible from the reach of state regimes and its benefits, but is constantly a victim of its violent power. That is what we have been facing in this country for the last, I would say, 60 years, though I'm yet to be 60 years. So, tumejaribu kufuata justice, na tuliandika petition hapa, tukaandika barua, na ninataka kusema mchana kucha hapa, I mean in broad daylight. Hizi barua nilipatia various leaders in this country, various prominent leaders in this country. And I will not be afraid to say who and who. I'll mention them by names. I gave these letters to Raila Odinga first. I gave them to Mother Karua. I gave them to Mwangi wa Iria, the former governor of my county, Murang'a County. But none of them tried to respond to us about how we could get justice for our people. It's very sad, it's very bad. I hate the way we do things in this country. Kama hatuwezi make the institutions of this country to make for everyone, then we are only playing games. Because we will not be here forever. Nobody will be here forever. We should do it not for us, but for posterity. So I want to question why, to know from our leaders, if I can get whatever feedback. Because one thing I thought that by approaching Mother Karua as a former justice and constitutional minister, I thought she would be in a position to help us to get justice for our people. Our people were maimed, others were killed by the city council and the Kenya police, and many areas were confiscated. And today, many of our people are living with those scars But we have tried to seek justice, but nobody is coming to our aid. Nobody is coming to our help. I think in the end we'll say with Martin Luther King Jr. that in the end we remember not the noise of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. So ile ningetaka ni kupata jibu from our leaders if ile maneno nimesema kama ni ya kweli, because we should follow up and get our leaders to get working for us. They should be working for us, not the other way around.
Asante sana. Nafikiri hiyo inaeleweka, na wakati unaketi nitakutuma kwa protocol officer of course ili uchukue hii na uverify your petition. Asante sana.
Comrades Power. Comrades Power. Kwa majina ni Vincent. Mimi ni mkaji wa huko Embakasi. What I want to talk about is just one thing, about unemployment to our youth. Most of the youth currently they are unemployed. And kwa ile manifesto yetu ile Azimio, Baba aliongea about 6K. And I still believe that hiyo ndoto yetu, Baba one day, vila nasukuma, hata sisi wenyewe kama vijana tuko nyuma yake, tunataka akue president, ili zile ndoto zile manifesto zenye alisema, ile 6K vijana wapate. Currently most of the youth they are unemployed, they don't have job. Sasa ukienda mtaa unapata most of the youth wako tu base, zile java base wanakula tu mirend whatever, which is not good. Another thing, hii mambo ya Baba anapata mambo ya maandamano, tunataka hii maandamano iendelee. Just vijana tunaumia. Hii maandamano wakati wale viongozi wetu wa saba wanatuelekeza pale mbele, sisi pia tunataka vile tuko ucha alisema. Every Monday maandamano ikue kila siku. Ili wakati wanamalizana na ile mambo ya bipartisan, sisi pia sababu wakati tunaongea wakituona kama tuko barabarani ndio watatimiza vitu zetu.
Asante sana.
Another thing, dakika moja.
Aya, tafadhali.
Nataka Gaucho. Please, pale Jivanji. Sasa maskari wameweka kila siku wanafukuza watu pale. Gaucho tunataka wewe uongee pale, uongee na hao polisi, hiyo mambo ya kufukuza watu pale waache. Asante sana.
Asante ndugu. Asante ndugu.
All protocols observed. Viva comrades, viva. Forward with organizing, forward. I'm Jerry Mwangi from the Social Justice Movement, Nairobi chapter. And my contribution hapa ni also teen moms and women in general, na pia the working class ambao wako Mathare. Mimi mwenyewe nimetoka Mathare, na sisi tukitokea 20th siku ya maandamano tulitokea because of the high cost of living ambayo tuna experience sana, ambayo inatuumiza sisi kama wananchi ambao wako huko chini at the grassroots level. Bado hiyo haija change, na tunasema mediation ikiendelea huko na bipartisan room in the bipartisan room, sisi tunafaa pia sisi tunaendelea, kwa sababu Hon Kalonzo here amesema those people do not have direction, and sisi kama watu hatuwezi kubali kulidiwa with people who hawana direction. We should give direction. Na direction ni we put pressure so that the right team yako hapo mbele, so that kile sisi yenye tunataka sisi kama wananchi wa huko chini, na sisi kama women ambao tunateseka kila siku, has been Cha has said before, tunataka vitu ambazo tunataka zikuwe presented hapo mbele. Na pia what Vincent has just said here, majority of the youths are not employed, na ndio inaleta also crisis zenye zinaendelea. Kuna high cost of living, kuna crime ambayo inaendelea kwa mitaa yetu, na ni kwa sababu vijana wameenda shule, wazazi wamewasomesha, lakini hakuna employment. Na ni kwa sababu ya government ambayo imejiposition hapo kama government ya Ruto, ambayo haina interest ya the youth that has. So ni lazima to march siku ya 7/7, tuende tuwatoe State House na tuweke the right people who ambao wako na interest ya the people at heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Na niwashukuru nyote mliotoa maoni haya hapa, na nitoe hakikisho kwamba yatashughulikiwa kikamilifu. Niombe sasa kumkaribisha kiongozi wa walio wachache katika bunge la kitaifa, mjumbe wa Ugunja, Mheshimiwa James Opio Wandai. Karibu Mheshimiwa Wandai.
Hello. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Baggy, and all protocol observed. I want to start by saying that as the Azimio la Umoja Coalition Parliamentary Group, we fully associate ourselves with the sentiments that have been expressed since this morning. And more particularly, we fully adopt the position taken by the social justice sector on these issues. Fully. Let me just ask those MPs who are here to just stand so that we may know them. Just stand and wave. Very good. Asanteni sana. We also have in our midst the leader of majority of the Nairobi County Assembly, Mheshimiwa Peter Imwatok, and I think their whip, Mheshimiwa Moses Ogeto, and all the MCS who are here. Kindly be upstanding for you to be acknowledged. Thank you very much. And let me say this about the so-called bipartisan process. You are aware, and all of us are aware indeed, that in the election of August 2022, upwards of 8 million Kenyans who are registered voters did not vote. So the question is, how can Parliament pretend to be representing those people and yet we do not know to which political formation they belong? And that's why we are saying that unless that bipartisan process is opened up to include external players, including the church, the student unions, the workers, the youth, the women, and everybody else, they cannot be allowed to proceed. And that is going to be the point of departure. That process can only be an extra-parliamentary process. In any case, we know that Parliament has never offered solutions to this country whenever we have wanted solutions. As a matter of fact, Parliament has on many occasions been an impediment to the country's progress. And therefore, the Parliament of Kenya cannot pretend to be an alpha or omega. We must open up those discussions to include everybody else who don't subscribe to either Azimio or Kenya Kwanza. Sinamna hiyo. La pili, the current economic situation that we are facing, which has resulted in the government for the first time in our history failing to pay its workers, is directly linked or related to that election of August last year and its outcome, which we have rejected. Because anywhere else in the world, when a regime comes into power, it must first inspire confidence. If it is a legitimate administration, it must be able to reassure the investors, the business, the market, without even saying or doing anything. What we have seen with the Kenya Kwanza regime is the exact opposite. It has scared away everybody else, the investors, the market, and we have got a lot of uncertainty, which can only be addressed by opening up the server. And on the matter of the server, Your Excellency Baba, we are aware that Venezuelans have been here for the past 3 or so weeks. They were sent to come and try to tamper with the server, so that eventually, if the pressure is too much on them, they can open it up, and then we find falsified records. Those Venezuelans, we have been on their track. We have been trailing them. They have been able to escape our dragnet. The last 2 weeks or so, they were staying in a hotel in Kileleshwa. When they realized we are on their tracks, they moved. They are on the run, but they are still in the country. We are also aware that they have had a meeting with the former CEO of IEBC. They have equally had a meeting with the former chairman of IEBC. So we want to caution them, wherever they are and their sponsors, that they are in our radar. And we cannot allow this country to move on unless and until we open up the server and get the true position. Wangapi makwaya na mimi? Finally, we want to agree with those who have spoken here before us that we can scale the stairs as we chew gum. We can negotiate in an extra parliamentary process as we continue with the people's actions out here. And we, members of the Azimio Parliamentary Group, are going to be in the forefront alongside fellow actors. We also have with us a message of solidarity that has been sent by Kenyans in the diaspora, led by Madam Comfort Munoro Mwangi, who is currently in the US. They had an online meeting yesterday of Kenyans in the diaspora who support this movement with the MDD, Bunge la Wananchi, and many other actors. And they have sent a speech which should have been read here, but because of time we shall share it out after this. And therefore, with those preliminary remarks, allow me to just ask 2 MPs, one representing the National Assembly, who is Honorable Aladwa, to come and just say a jambo, and the leader of Minority Coalition in the Senate, the Honorable Senator Stewart Mazayo. Just 1 minute each before I give the microphone back to the Honorable Waziri Eugene Wamalwa to proceed with the program. Thank you.
Asanti Mheshimiwa Wandai. Hamjambo wote. Mimi nataka kusema mambo matatu kwa sababu viongozi wako hapa na wale wameitwa wote wamezungumza kulingana na mahali umetoka na mahali unawakilisha. Naitwa Mheshimiwa Aladwa nikitoka county Nairobi. Mambo yangu ni matatu. My party leader, kwanza hii mambo ya kunegotiate na watu ambao wajielewi, na nimesikia watu wameongea hapa na watu ambao wajielewi waoni mbele. Kwanza tuko disappointed kwa mambo ya Monday wakati ulairisha maandamano. Hiyo lazima tuseme. Next time wewe konta kwa hiyo maandamano, wewe ongea na hao tuache tupambane huko wa street. Hao watu waelewi lugha nyingine. Hata mkisema mchague komiti watu 20, hata milioni 1, hawatasikia. So lugha ya kusikia, na nasikia wengine la kutukana kama Gashagwa. Mtu ambaye hata koti imeangalia left, longi imeangalia right. Hata kuvaa jui. Na namka na mdomo wake kubwa anatukana kiongozi wetu ambaye alienda kwa ballot. Sisi wajumbe tumesema, na mimi nataka wale wajumbe wako hapa, Mheshimiwa President wetu, watu waamuke. Si wakisikia president kwa mahali fulani na Martha Karua na Eugene wanakimbia hapo. Sasa maandamano hawako. The next maandamano party leader tunataka kuwa coordinated. Kuna vijana hapa wana groups hapa Nairobi. Inakuwa disappointed, maandamano kisha hawajui wanaenda wapi na wanatoka wapi. Na wamesimama na wewe. Tunataka tuwe na proper organization. Vijana wetu wakimaliza tunajua wamepigwa risasi, huyo ameumia, huyo amefanywa hivi, ndio tunajua tuna collect watu wetu wale wameumia. Inakuwa vibaya sana, tumemaliza maandamano, watu wetu hawajui mahali pa kuelekea. Baba, watu wanakupenda. Mambo ya kuahirisha mambo wachana nayo. Wacha tupambane. Watu tu wapambane. Wangapo wananuka mkono. Hiyo ndio feeling ya watu na ndio mood ya watu. Wewe kwenda kuahirisha, uliza Martha. Uliza Eugene, mkikubaliana kwa room huko ni yenyu. Mkitoka huko nyinyi mnyamaze. Wacheni watu waende kwa street. Ya mwisho, hapa hakuna mtu muoga. Hapa hakuna mtu muoga. Sasa hii tena nasikia wamefukuza mama ambaye ni wa jamii yetu kutoka Western, DG wetu wa NYS, Madam Sakwa. Mama Asha Juma amemfukuza kazi saa hii asubuhi kwa sababu alikataa kufanya mambo ya bili yake ya kufanya tendering. Wamefukuza huyo Muluya mama, na Waluya wako huko kubwa wako huko Kenya Kwanza wamenyamaza. Na wao ni mambo yetu. Muluya amefukuzwa kutoka Vihiga County. Tunasema watufukuze wasitufukuze, tunangoja baba kwa president atuteue tena. Na sisi tunajua kwa Mwenyezi Mungu baba atafika mahali anataka kuwa. Na mtu muoga hapa aende kwao.
Asante.
Baba, kuna wajumbe, nikimaliza, wajumbe wana heshima na adabu, hata wa ODM. Sasa zile uko mahali wanakuja kujipendekeza. Sasa maandamano wanajificha. Maandamano kisha wanakufuata. Kama ni maandamano, iwe maandamano. Tukiongozwa na nani? Na Wandai. Tunaona kila mtu. Wandai weka register. Ndio hata siku nomination wapewe wale wamefanya kazi.
Haya.
Kuna wajumbe huko vile umesikia kama Lang'ata ameenda, game ameenda, si wapi ameenda. Baba, rudisha makucha yako. Fukuza watu kwa chama, toa watu kwa chama, tuende by election. Mimi niko tayari kuandika hiyo barua hata kama sina cheo kubwa kwa ODM. Mungu awabariki.
Haya, asante sana.
Wakenya hoye! Wakenya hoye! Baba na mama Martha, viongozi wetu, itifaki zote zikiangaliwa, ndugu zangu, mimi nataka kusema kitu kimoja tu, ya kwamba imefika wakati sasa ni lazima hii serikali ya Kenya Kwanza ianguke. Hawana njia yoyote ya kufanya kisheria kuweza kuchukua yule mbunge mmoja ambaye sisi tuko naye pande hii, akiwa ni mbunge wa Jubilee. Na Jubilee kama mnavyojua iko ndani ya Azimio. Hivi sasa wanaanza kuchukua watu wetu wakisema kwamba wanaweka kwao ili waweze kufanya lile jopo la wale wabunge ambao tumechagua. Saba upande huu, saba upande huu. Mnaweza kuona kijana ama mtu anaitwa Eden Keinan. Mheshimiwa Eden Keinan, yeye ni mfuasi wa Jubilee. Kwa hiyo yeye yuko chini ya Kioni. Na ni makosa sana na ukosefu wa sheria ikiwa mnaweza kuchukua mbunge ambaye yuko pande huu alafu mkamchukua mkasema yuko upande wenu. Kwa hiyo baba, sisi tunasema equity ambao ni sheria inasema, if you want equity to come to you, if you want equity to help you, you must come with clean hands. Na tayari katika hili jopo ambalo tumefanya baba, la wale watu ambao ni waheshimiwa ndani ya bunge, saba upande huu wa Azimio na saba upande wa Kenya Kwanza, mimi ninaona nia hiyo haiko. Wao hawako tayari kwa msururu huu wa kwamba tunaweza kuongea kwa lugha ambayo tutaelewana. Lugha ambayo Kenya Kwanza inaweza kuelewa ni maandamano peke yake, hakuna lugha nyingine. Kwa hiyo sisi hakuna kurudi nyuma, hakuna kuogopa. Baba akisema tuende right, tutaenda right. Akisema tuende left, tutaenda left. Mimi nasema njia moja tu moja. Wewe kama mwanaume, wewe kama mwanamke, wewe kama kiumbe cha Mwenyezi Mungu, ulizaliwa siku moja. Na mwezi huu ni mwezi mtukufu, mwezi wa Ramadhani. Ujue siku moja utakufa. Lakini hii nchi ya Kenya itaendelea. Kwa hiyo tunasema ya kwamba hii nchi ya Kenya ni muhimu kuliko mtu yoyote, ni kubwa kuliko hata Ruto mwenyewe. Kwa hiyo sisi hatutaogopa mtu yoyote.
Baba, tuko tayari. Ukisema tuingie uwanjani, tutaingia uwanjani, tutapambana nao vilivyo bila kuogopa. Asanteni sana.
Haya, asante sana Mheshimiwa Mazayo, kwa vile Alado wameongea vikali sana. Wacha nitaje hao wabunge tu kwa majina. Kuna mbunge wa Langat, mbunge wa Kibra, Mheshimiwa Mwalimu Peter Orero. Vile vile tunaye mbunge wa Karachuonyo, Mheshimiwa Adipo Okuome. Tunaye mbunge wa Ndhiwa, Mheshimiwa Martin Owino. Mbunge wa Mwingi Central, Mheshimiwa Architect Gideon Mulyungi. Na tulikuwa na wale wabunge wenye kamiti ya negotiations kiongozwa na Otiende Amolo, walikuwa pa wote, lakini wameenda nje kidogo. La mwisho, Senator wa Migori, Mheshimiwa Eddie Okech. Asante sana. Wacha nitambue former DG wa Nyeri, tena kiongozi wa wanawake wa Azimio, Mheshimiwa Daktari Caroline Karugu. Asante sana. Waziri Eugene Wamalwa. Sasa nitakukabidhi hii microphone uendelee na ratiba. Asante sana. May God bless you.
Asante sana. Wanaazimio hamjambo, civil society hamjambo, comrades power. Asanteni sana comrades kutukaribisha hapa. Mimi nilikuwa comrade hapa miaka mingi kidogo iliyopita, na nilikuwa naambia baba, wakati nilikuwa mwanafunzi hapa, nilikuwa nakaa Mamlaka Hall, wale tulikuwa wanasheria, engineers tulikuwa pale, na kila mara tulisikia Jaramogi anakuja hapa, Masinde Muliro, Martin Shikuku, na wengi waliokuwa wanapigania uhuru wa pili, kukiwemo Young Turks wakati huo, kina Raila, kina Orengo. Tulikuwa tunakuja hapa kuwasikiza, lakini pia walikuwa wanatusikiza. Na leo nashukuru sana Odoro Ngwen, Zain, kuhakikisha wenye boma hili comrades wamepewa nafasi wawe nasi siku ya leo, sababu hawa ndio tunapigania Kenya ijayo, Kenya iliyoko sasa. Tumewasikiza siku ya leo. Kazi yetu leo ilikuwa ni kuwasikiza ninyi, na zaidi najua hapa mnataka msikize baba na mama.
Subsequently did better than
Umechoka sana kukaa masaa mengi hapa.
It looked at what the problem was,
lakini kabla tujaleta baba na mama, kuna viongozi wachache naomba mtupe dakika chache tu wasalimu, alafu tulete mama, atulete baba. Mnatupa hiyo ruhusa?
2022 in Kenya.
So
the court,
wengi wamekuwa wanasema ati mlima Kenya hauko na baba, ati baba alishindwa kupanda mlima. Hapa tuna viongozi kutoka mlima Kenya. Nimemsikiza kwa makini sana
the repeat elections were held under the same cloud and therefore boycotted by the opposition. The Malawi court subsequently did better than the Kenyan court. It looked at what the problem was and directed what must be done before the repeat elections. And Malawi got an opposition person as president. 2022 in Kenya, the court failed to give justice. And the whistleblower let us know what was in the server. We are therefore saying, do not ask us whether the whistleblower is accurate. Do not ask us whether our information is accurate. The responsibility to keep records is not ours. It belongs to a body we pay called the IEBC. Open the servers and the truth will be known once and for all. If we do not open these servers, we shall be again sweeping the dirt under the carpet, and one day this nation will explode. We must have the servers opened this time, and that is period. Finally, I want to say this. that all demonstrations by Azimio have been peaceful. Even when they try to lie, the truth always out. They lied in pictures about the past demonstration, but the nation, and I want to thank the NTV group, the nation was able to uncover those lies by reminding us that these were pictures taken from before. Some were not even Kenyan. Shame on anyone trying to feed Kenyans with lies. And even that apology by the DCI was not sincere, because the behavior of sections of the police has continued to be the same. Recently, a police officer died from injuries during a demonstration in Kisumu. What did they say? That the officer was killed by Azimio demonstrators, only for information to leak that he was run over by a police vehicle, and up to this day, we do not know whether they ever stopped to take him to hospital or whether he was taken much later. Shame on them for trying to paint Azimio as violent. All our demonstrations have been peaceful. Hell breaks loose only when police throw tear gas and shoot us with live bullets. We want to say, you can have the might of guns. We shall arm ourselves with the might of the masses. It's gun power versus people power. It is the smoke of whatever chemicals they throw at us, tear gas versus people power and people resilience. Recently, in Tharaka Nithi, Chuka, they killed the Boda Boda chairman. It was not an Azimio demonstration. But because they had given instructions that all demonstrations are outlawed, it's as though they changed the constitution in their dreams. They used the same force they were using on Azimio on the residents of Tharaka Nithi who are demonstrating, resulting in 2 deaths. I want to appeal to our police, and I know a majority of them are professional. For the few wayward ones, stop using excessive force on fellow citizens. Stop obeying illegal orders. Treat citizens the way you treat your employer. They are the people paying you. So finally, Zain should have been here to hear me say finally twice. I want to say that we will win because we stand for the truth. Hata hatujipigi kifua kusema ati tuko na results. Hizi ndizo results. Tunasema fungua server which will separate wheat from chaff. We realize the nation belongs to us all. And for those calling us names, please don't turn our country to nchi ya wakosa adabu. Refer to people in a proper way. Show maturity and leadership, not immaturity and conmanship. Let the people go. Let Kenyans go from the clutches of evil, from the clutches of injustice, and let the social justice that is being demanded here today thrive. My sister Caroline, I wouldn't worry about Kanchori's book because he is giving his truth as he sees it. One may dispute a section or another, but there is no doubt that the young man is Azimio blood and that he did his work when he was sent to do. Let us allow open debate on issues, even when you do not agree 100% with what people say. Without much ado, allow me to call our leader, His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga. Thank you.
Hey. Hamjambo. Asasi za kijamii, hamjambo. Comrades power. Comrades power. Asanteni sana, you may be seated. I think I know you have sat for a long time. And therefore, after sitting for so long, the other process sets in. Now, the biggest disadvantage, speaking at last, that everything else has been said. So you now find yourself just dealing with the dregs. But let me first begin by thanking members of the civil society, members of the university fraternity, and our students for coming here in such large numbers. We decided that we have been talking too much sometimes to ourselves, that today we want to be listeners. Let us sit down and listen to the people. And you have not disappointed. Those who had opportunity to talk have not disappointed. And we take it that those who have spoken is a representative sample of this audience which was here today. And therefore, I'm going to just tell you what we ourselves had agreed as leadership of Azimio to be our common position. This is not just my stand. It is the Azimio leadership stand. And then I will finish by just saying a few things at the end of it. Okay? But here, as Ongwen said, and Eugene has remembered, we are in holy grounds here at Ufungamano House. Many, many ideas have come from this holy place, which have actually contributed to change of lives of the people of our country. Ufungamano, sometimes we remember with nostalgia where we came from. Eugene has told you we used to be here with our parents who have since left us. And they told us how they themselves organized themselves to fight against colonialism and how independence was achieved. At that time, Kenya was facing one of the most entrenched dictatorships in our history. But we were able to basically tame that dictatorship. So nothing is impossible with the people power. If the people are determined, there's nothing that can stop them from achieving what they want to achieve. Over the decades, this venue has become synonymous with our quest for a more perfect nation. Each time we have taken a stand here, the nation has overcome confusion, doubts, and fear, and taken a stand for the better. Although we have held deliberations here that shaped our nation, none has taken place under circumstances as worrying as is the case currently. Kenyans have never had to struggle this hard to put food on the table or take their children to school. Even the civil servants have never gone without pay up to the 13th of the month. When we held frequent meetings at this venue in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, we aimed to end the single-party rule and give ourselves a new constitution. As we meet today, both the multi-party democracy and the constitution we fought for are under attack. Our electoral system is under attack, and all the work that we have done in creating the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission and introducing the use of technology into our elections are clearly going to waste. Despite the Constitution that calls for inclusivity in public affairs, the professional civil service that we have tried to build since independence is being dismantled through tribal appointments and sackings. It seems to be the fate of this country that each time we are on the ascendancy, something happens to pull us backwards, and it always begins with elections. The election of 2007 pushed us to the brink, wiped out a thriving economy, and broke the ties that had held Kenya together for decades. This election of 2022 and the regime that emerged from it may be the most regrettable thing to have happened in our country's history. The failures they have recorded in a mere 6 months, including record of high cost of food and a collapsing economy, should be enough warning that we have to act quickly and decisively. We have been told, and I quote, "The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Read also good women," unquote. Our presence here underscores our refusal to be the good people who did nothing and allowed evil to triumph in our country. Something fundamental must give this time round. Otherwise, we could lose a whole country. Our wish is to achieve the overhaul of our state of affairs with the involvement of the people from all segments of our society at every stage. We will engage in the bipartisan process to which we have sent very able and competent representatives. But the people must not be left out or behind. We are not going into this dialogue for deals in smoke-filled rooms. We are going into this to secure and safeguard fundamental life and death gains for the people and the country. Throughout the talks, we expect the people to stand on guard and ensure it's about them and the country. That's why we are gathered here today, so that people can consult and engage and be watchful. We must refuse to be party to the subterfuges of the past that are glossed over and compromised on fundamental issues for expediency. Something fundamental must give this time round, but only if the people stay engaged. We are not going into this to be rubber stamps. One of the things that has clearly been on display ever since these past 6 months is that Kenya Kwanza is a regime of rubber stamps. Subsidies are being removed from food, fuel, electricity, and school fees, exposing people to suffering, and Kenya Kwanza rubber stamps it as okay. They know there was an order for the opening of the IB servers, but the rubber stamp is as okay the refusal to open the servers. They know the buying of MPs to switch sides undermines our hard-won multi-party democracy, but they still rubber stamp it as okay. People are being appointed to and sacked from the civil service on tribal lines, but Kenya Kwanza rubber stamps it as okay. You have not agreed to participate in the bipartisan process to be another rubber stamp for Kenya Kwanza. That has to be understood from the outset. Should the talks falter or bear no fruit because of the grandstanding, lack of openness, lack of honesty, and intransigence
One may dispute a section or another, but there is no doubt that the young man is Azimio blood and that he did his work when he was sent to do. Let us allow open debate on issues, even when some you do not agree 100% with what people say. Without much ado, allow me to call our leader, His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga. Thank you.
Hey. Hamjambo. Asasi za kijamii, hamjambo. Comrades power. Comrades power. Asanteni sana, you may be seated. Think I know you have sat for a long time. And therefore, after sitting for so long, the other process sets in. Now, the biggest disadvantage, speaking at last, that everything else has been said. So you now find yourself just dealing with the dregs. But let me first begin by thanking members of the civil society, members of the university fraternity, and our students for coming here in such large numbers. We decided that we have been talking too much sometimes to ourselves, that today we want to be listeners. Let us sit down and listen to the people. And you have not disappointed. Those who had opportunity to talk have not disappointed. And we take it that those who have spoken is a representative sample of this audience which is here today. And therefore, I'm going to just tell you what we ourselves had agreed as leadership of Azimio to be our common position. This is not just my stand, it is the Azimio leadership stand. And then I will finish by just saying a few things at the end of it. Okay? But here, as Ongwen said, and Eugene has remembered, we are in holy grounds here at Ufungamano House. Many, many ideas have come from this holy place, which have actually contributed to change of lives of the people of our country. Ufungamano, sometimes we remember with nostalgia where we came from. Eugene has told you we used to be here with our parents who have since left us. And they told us how they themselves organized themselves to fight against colonialism and how independence was achieved. At that time, Kenya was facing one of the most entrenched dictatorships in our history. But we were able to basically tame that dictatorship. So nothing is impossible with the people power. If the people are determined, there's nothing that can stop them from achieving what they want to achieve. Over the decades, this venue has become synonymous with our quest for a more perfect nation. Each time we have taken a stand here, the nation has overcome confusion, doubts, and fear, and taken a stand for the better. Although we have held deliberations here that shaped our nation, none has taken place under circumstances as worrying as is the case Kenyans have never had to struggle this hard to put food on the table or take their children to school. Even the civil servants have never gone without pay up to the 13th of the month. When we held frequent meetings at this venue in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, we aimed to end the single-party rule and give ourselves a new constitution. As we meet today, both the multi-party democracy and the constitution we fought for are under attack. Our electoral system is under attack, and all the work that we have done in creating the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission and introducing the use of technology into our elections are clearly going to waste. Despite the Constitution that calls for inclusivity in public affairs, the professional civil service that we have tried to build since independence is being dismantled through tribal appointments and sackings. It seems to be the fate of this country that each time we are on the ascendancy, something happens to pull us backwards, and it always begins with elections. The election of 2007 pushed us to the brink, wiped out a thriving economy, and broke the ties that had held Kenya together for decades. This election of 2022 and the regime that emerged from it may be the most regrettable thing to have happened in our country's history. The failures they have recorded in a mere 6 months, including a record of high cost of food and a collapsing economy, should be enough warning that we have to act quickly and decisively. We have been told, and I quote, "The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Read also good women," unquote. Our presence here underscores our refusal to be the good people who did nothing and allowed evil to triumph in our country. Something fundamental must give this time round. Otherwise, we could lose a whole country. Our wish is to achieve the overhaul of our state of affairs with the involvement of the people from all segments of our society at every stage. We will engage in the bipartisan process to which we have sent very able and competent representatives. But the people must not be left out or behind. We are not going into this dialogue for deals in smoke-filled rooms. We are going into this to secure and safeguard fundamental life and death gains for the people and the country. Throughout the talks, we expect the people to stand on guard and ensure it's about them and the country. That's why we are gathered here today, so that people can consult and engage and be watchful. We must refuse to be party to the subterfuges of the past that are glossed over and compromised on fundamental issues for expediency. Something fundamental must give this time round, but only if the people stay engaged. We are not going into this to be rubber stamps. One of the things that has clearly been on display ever since these past 6 months is that Kenya Kwanza is a regime of rubber stamps. Subsidies are being removed from food, fuel, electricity, and school fees, exposing people to suffering, and Kenya Kwanza rubber stamps it as okay. They know there was an order for the opening of the IB servers, but the rubber stamp is as okay the refusal to open the servers. They know the buying of MPs to switch sides undermines our hard-won multi-party democracy, but they still rubber stamp it as okay. People are being appointed to and sacked from the civil service on tribal lines, but Kenya Kwanza rubber stamps it as okay. You have not agreed to participate in the bipartisan process to be another rubber stamp for Kenya Kwanza. That has to be understood from the outset. Should the talks falter or bear no fruit because of the grandstanding, lack of openness, lack of honesty, and intransigence